Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. It is officially game week, week 0, and we're starting to see some quarterback ones being announced. UNC just announced. One team we're waiting on is Texas A&M. This quarterback battle is one of the more important battles in college football. If Texas A&M can get a quarterback that can give them some explosive plays and just solid quarterback play heading into 2022, I mean, this team is talented enough to really make some noise. National championship, SEC championship, but it really does reside in the hands of the quarterback, really seemingly between Haynes King and Max Johnson, the transfer from LSU. Before we get into it, guys, again, just wanted to say thank you for all the support you guys have shown the channel. It's been a blast talking ball with you guys in the comment section. We're learning a lot about everybody's teams. Love making these videos, and we're just happy that you guys like the videos. And if you do, consider subscribing to the channel. Dill, I'm going to kick it off to you. I know you have some pretty strong takes on who you want to see QB1 down in Texas A&M. Who do you got here?
Max Johnson. Max Johnson is a guy who is criminally disrespected, and I think the main reason is you played on an LSU team that was pretty much burning to the ground, and in the 2 years he was there. And he had a couple moments as a freshman, came in when the quarterback play was really bad and looked okay. And then as a sophomore, finally got called number one. And I mean, had a good year, 27 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Sneaky good year.
On a team that was terrible. Like, that offensive line was brutal. Keyshawn Butte was hurt for a fair amount of it, and they couldn't run the ball at all. So I think he's a guy who can play really good football on a good team.
For me, I don't have as much of a preference on whether it's Haynes King, Max Johnson. I mean, you could throw Connor Wigman in there, but it does seem to be between Haynes King and Max Johnson. You just got to get some consistency. Zach Calzada last year was comically bad at times. I mean, he was such a talented arm, but really inconsistent, very limited mobility in terms of extended plays. The good thing about Haynes King, especially Haynes King, but also Max Johnson, is they're both pretty solid athletes. Haynes King probably more of a dual threat guy who actually has some serious wheels. From what I read, he's hitting like 21 miles per hour on the GPS. Max Johnson can also extend plays, but he's much more of a pocket passer. I think a lot of it depends on what Jimbo Fisher wants to do, and I think you can take a look at the guys around him. What quarterback best fits the offensive system and the skill level that's around him. One thing that a lot of people are getting on the Aggies for, and Jimbo Fisher especially, is the lack of wide receiver development. And I don't know if that's a quarterback problem or just a coaching problem, because they bring in really, really talented wide receivers, and they just quite frankly don't develop them.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, you looking at it, you got to think one of the freshmen are going to be really good. I think that's pretty typical for those big-time wideouts. If you can bring in enough of them, one's going to hit and going to hit really effectively. I mean, it's probably going to be Evan Stewart just on a talent level, but like Chris Marshall, I mean, these guys can maybe give him a chance. And I am a fan of Aeneas Smith. I think he's played really good football at times. I don't think he can be the number one, which I think hurt Texas A&M last year, but I think he can be a really good 2 and an exceptionally good slot when used in that role. So I think either quarterback is going to have the weapons to do it. And I got to say, I think both these guys are far, far better options than Calzada.
100%. I mean, Zach Calzada really, really struggled just to do the simple things a lot of the time. Now, you look at this wide receiving core, I think they want to get the ball out quick to these playmakers, especially when you said Aeneas Smith, probably not a wide receiver, a prototypical wide receiver 1, but very well likely will lead them in passing yards just because of how many touches he's going to get a game. At the end of the day, you need him to get the ball in his hands 10-plus times a game, whether it's out of the backfield, whether it's screen passes, whether it's little quick hitters. He needs to get the ball. Chase Lane is a guy who's kind of rock solid. And then you have the guy, Evan Stewart, who has all the potential in the world. And it just comes down to get the quarterback who can get these guys the ball in space and let them cook. Don't put too much pressure on the quarterback. I think they were doing that too much with Zach Calzada last year. And whoever starts, Haynes King or Luke Johnson, they're going to be protected by a very solid offensive line, and they're going to have a lot of talent around them.
I mean, when you're thinking about getting the ball out of your hands, like, nobody would do it better than Max Johnson. He was in like a fire alarm every time he dropped back. It just nobody on LSU was blocking. And I think that's kind of the reason he gave them a chance, is because he was fairly effective getting the ball out quickly and on time. I mean, when you watch their freshman year, like the Miles Brennan, TJ Finley group, like the ball was never really getting out. And then they put Max Johnson in, at least the ball was getting out quickly, and it had to come out quickly. It was hot every play. And that makes me think, like, okay, if that's the system you're going to be running, and I think you can throw Devin a chain in there for sure as a guy you want to get the ball in his hands as a wideout. I think that could be a Max Johnson special. Guy,
yeah, it might. So from what I've been reading from the spring and fall camp notes, you watch the spring game, really windy. Texas A&M's defense was pretty much just kicking Texas A&M's offense's butt, and none of the quarterbacks really had a chance to thrive. And there wasn't a guy in that spring game where it's like, okay, that's quarterback one. In fall camp, Haynes King apparently has been slinging it around really well, has been the better quarterback. Now, is he going to get QB1? It seems like it's trending that way, but I agree with you in the sense that Max Johnson, because he was on such a disappointing LSU team, doesn't get enough credit. I mean, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions is a very good stat line for a second-year player at LSU. Under the terms of an absolute dumpster fire of a team, I mean, if we're talking about who's the most proven quarterback in that room, it's Max Johnson.
And I almost think where Texas A&M's at, like, that's kind of just what you want. You can't go too many more years of just playing pathetically bad at quarterback. And that's kind of the issue with Jimbo Fisher. And he hasn't brought in that premier recruit as much as he brought in the other positions. The top quarterbacks just don't seem to be going there. And Malachi Nelson did make his visit, and I think you want to show that you can be a more of a prolific offense than what A&M's been, because it's been really pretty I mean, they've had times look really good, but at times have looked really poor.
I mean, if they're looking good, it's because they're running the ball well. They have not had an explosive offense through the air in a very long time, and you make a really good point, and we talked about this in the Michigan video. If you're trying to get top quarterbacks to come to your program, you got to show that our offense is suitable and quarterbacks come here and thrive. You have a guy like Connor Wigman waiting in the wings, but again, this seems to be a Haynes King or Max Johnson team, and you want to show that, hey, we have an explosive offense here in College Station. If you're a talented quarterback at the high school level, come to College Station, you will thrive. At the end of the day, what I'm thinking is you have 3 quarterbacks that will be better than the quarterback you had last year.
Yeah, and that's fair, but like that's not good enough because it was so bad. Like I don't get why people don't think Max Johnson's a legit. Maybe it's because he's a lefty. Maybe it's because LSU was.
There's something about lefty throwing, I will say. It just doesn't look as pretty.
Like, who cares? He gets the job done and he can move. And I don't know. I think people are way too down. I just think Max Johnson deserves much more credit as like a top. I don't want to. He's not like in the Bryce Young league, but he's in the top of the half of the SEC for sure.
I agree. And again, he's the most proven quarterback in this room. I wonder if Max Johnson, I mean, you're thinking you're in Max Johnson's shoes. He didn't transfer to Texas A&M to be quarterback 2. And so if
he's going to be quarterback 1 at LSU again.
If you name Haynes King your starter,
he's out.
Is Max Johnson out into the portal? Quite possibly.
But that's frankly okay. If Haynes King beats him out, he beats him out, and like they're both the same age, so who cares? So, yeah.
And that's what we might as well just finish on is you have a game to figure it out. And obviously all the quarterback battle videos we're doing, we really stress name a quarterback. Have a quarterback who went out, won the job, let him practice with the ones full time, let him take over that offense. And so when you go play Sam Houston State at home, they get to cook and get some of that confidence. I'm a huge fan of Texas A&M getting kind of – Sam Houston State, I mean, they're a good FCS team, but Texas A&M is going to blow the doors off. And you're going to let your quarterback get some chemistry with very, very talented wide receiver group behind a very good offensive line with a good running game, because you don't want to look over App State, who's coming to College Station week 2, and then you got Florida, and then you get into the Arkansas and SEC schedule. It's very important in my mind that they don't have time in the regular season to have this quarterback battle play out. Michigan does. Michigan has 4 kind of cakewalk games until they get into Big Ten play. Texas A&M has 1 game, and that needs to be, we have our quarterback one. We're going to play him. We're going to let him cook, and he's going to take the reins for the 2022 season. You don't want to go into the season saying, well, we got a quarterback battle. We're flip-flopping him, and then you play App State. Can't do it.
No, and I think at some point you just want to name it quickly so that guy gets used to throwing to the ones. Like, you don't need them splitting reps for the last, like, 2 weeks in the season, even if it's not. Like, one of them needs to be practicing and getting the rhythm, and you got to go because the team's way too good to waste on a bad quarterback when you have 2 good options, potentially 3.
And what we'll close on is, I think Texas A&M's quarterback play, you can almost guarantee it'll be better. I think all 3 of these guys, you could throw Connor Wigman in there, will be better than what you saw with Zach Calzada last year. You put a lot of stock in Zach Calzada's arm. He couldn't extend plays. He would very rarely throw from a steady platform, missed a lot of throws. All 3 of these guys will be better than Zach Calzada in my mind. And Texas A&M, again, with how talented their defense is, with how talented this roster is, if they can hit on one of these quarterbacks and get, I'm not saying they need to be a top 10 offense, but get into that top 30 explosive play offense, they're going to make some noise in the college football playoff race. They're going to make some noise in the SEC. This is a very, very talented team that it's a numbers game. You got 3 good options at quarterback. Trust Jimbo Fisher that one of them is going to hit, and let's start cooking for Texas A&M.
One proven guy, though.
One proven guy in Max Johnson. That is fair. We'll close it out on that. Again, let us know in the comment section, guys, you Aggie fans, who you guys want to see as quarterback.
I love hearing what the fans think. It's the best.
For sure. I mean, you guys are more plugged in than us when it comes to reading we do that for Michigan. Every fall camp practice, we're reading the practice notes. You guys are doing that for Texas A&M. Let us know in the comment section what you guys are reading, what you guys are hearing, and what you guys want to see. We appreciate you guys checking us out, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.